everyone, it's Fionn and welcome back to my channel, Chrisnal Eva Chanel. I hope you are all very well. Today I want to talk about the books that I read in March. It is the 30th of April, but we're just going to move on from that immediately. So I finished 4 books in March, and I actually had 2 DNFs as well, but of the 4 I finished, my star ratings ranged from 2.75 up to a 4 star, with an average of 3.56. So we'll go chronologically, starting with Penance by Eliza Clark. I have spoken about this in a couple of videos already, so I won't go on too much, but basically this is a really fun mixed media true crime story put together and written as if it's completely real, and she was really good at that. There were definitely several occasions where I was googling things that had happened in this book, or like things that were referenced, to figure out if they were real or not, because some of the characters' motivations for their crimes in this book were based on like political events or like heavily media-ized, not a word, crimes from the past that were written as if they were actually real, and I had to check if they were or not. I do believe Eliza Clark did that intentionally to keep us guessing about what we can believe and stuff, and I thought it was really well executed. I loved the mixed media format, but there were definitely sections of this that I found were way too long. There were definitely a few lulls in the story. It never really dragged, but there were definitely times where it was really slowed down, and I was like, come on, let's get this going again. But on the flip side of that, there were also times where I found it quite unputdownable and I read for really long stints. So I do think this was a good one on the whole. Throughout the book, I was wondering if we had a bit of an unreliable narrator, which just added to the excitement and confusion of it all in a positive way. I wasn't confused, like annoyed confused, like I didn't get what was going on, but it was just like, what is happening, wanting to find out what's happening. I mean, I've said the same thing over and over, but I do think she did a really great job of this. And another note is that she got the tone spot on. She really wrote the teenagers, like the essence of teenagers in this time period was so perfect. She just got it. I think it's like mid to late 2010s, maybe into the early 2020s. One moment, please. Okay, so the incident, basically the true crime like element of this book is with the reliable / unreliable narrator. That narrator is putting together a book, this book, of trying to uncover the events of this murder. So 3 friends murdered their teenage girlfriend, and he wants to know why. So he's trying to put this book together, but obviously, so he's writing it to us as if it's real, but the whole thing's not real. It was just so good. If you have read this and you liked it, I would absolutely recommend this book. True Crime Story by Joseph Knox. Very similar, mixed media, true crime fiction, very good. Definitely preferred this one over this one, but that might just be because I read this one first, so it was a brand new concept. I don't know, I might do a reread of this at some point, because I really liked this when I read it. And yeah, that's kind of all I've got to say. I gave Penance 4 stars. I would recommend it, and I am looking forward to trying some of Eliza Clark's other books as well. Get that back in first try. No. Next up, I had my first DNF of the month, and it was Luck and Booth by Jenny Fagan. I picked this up for an episode of the Library Diaries, and when I first started it, I really liked the short, snappy, straight to the point writing style of it. But I kind of got over that quite fast, and I just wasn't enjoying it. That's pretty much all there is to it, so I just stopped reading it. Then I picked up Noughts and Crosses by Malorie Blackman. This is a YA dystopian, would you say? I don't know if you'd just say contemporary fiction with a very high moral code. So it's kind of a reverse racism situation. Well, not kind of, it is. So the black people, or the crosses, are the most powerful race out of black and white people. The black people are more respected, they're seen as more worthy, they're more powerful, and the white people, or the noughts, are very marginalised because of the colour of their skin. So it's like racism in our world, but flipped the other way around. I think it was a really good message. I think maybe this should be mandatory reading for teenagers, and like, but young teenagers, because it did read very YA, maybe for middle grade to me. I didn't love the tone of it. I really hated the like stammer writing. So you know when someone's nervous and they've written like, what are you doing? I hate that, because people don't really talk like that in real life, and it just looks stupid to me in books, and I'm reading it in my head and I'm like, nobody would say this, and I hate that in all books, but it happened very often in this one. And also just like the tone felt a little bit off at times, because I get it, she's obviously trying to make this digestible to younger readers and appropriate for younger readers, and I do think it's a really important book for young people to read. But no teenager who's involved in like criminal activity is going to stand there with being attacked with a weapon at his head or his throat or whatever it was and go, sod you, sod off, bog off, like, sod you. Nobody's going to say that. They're going to say F you, and it just annoyed me because it just threw me out of the whole story. But powerful message. If you have teenage children or like preteen children, get them to read it. I'm going to be donating it. I gave this one, how many stars did I give this? 3.5. Cut us open, spread us out. Next up, I read Anatomy of a Scandal by, oh, who is this by? Sarah Vaughan, I think. I will edit in the correction if that's wrong. I want to say Sarah Vaughan though. This is a kind of thriller book. My friends wanted to start a book club, so this was the first pick. Not successful. It was awful. Yeah. So basically we're following a lawyer who is trying to prosecute a man who's a very influential political figure who's been accused of raping one of his employees. So heavy, and just the way this man, even in the like past timelines when he was at uni with his friends, the way they spoke about women was just disgusting. And I can't put enough emphasis into the way I say that. It was revolting. It was horrible to read. But the actual story itself wasn't even that interesting either. So I DNF'd it about 180 pages in. I was pretty bored, and then my friend had finished it before me and she said, Fee, just don't finish it. She recommended DNFing it. She said, you're not going to like it, it's horrible, and just don't read it. So I didn't, and then I'm really glad with that decision, having read on about what happened, and then we discussed it as the book club book, and it would not have been for me. So I'm glad I DNF'd it, but I'm sad I wasted some time on it. But you win some, you lose some. And then I read Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. This is the second book in the Arc of a Scythe trilogy. And in this trilogy, we are in a world where there's no more death. Nobody dies of natural causes anymore. So the only way a person's life can end is if they are gleaned by a scythe. And a scythe is a very honourable, highly respected member of the community who's been selected to undergo training. They have to then take very rigorous training and an exam to see if they are deemed worthy of being an ordained scythe. Because obviously you're taking people's lives, so it's going to be pretty rigorous. And book one followed Citra and Rowan, two teenagers who were selected as apprentice scythes. This book just follows on from there. I'm obviously not going to say what's happening because it will spoil the first book. But I've really enjoyed this series. I have actually finished it now. I read the third book this month in April, so I'll talk about that in the next wrap-up video. But yeah, a fun time. I do think the first book was my favourite, but that often happens to me with series, so that's nothing new. I liked it. One funny thing is that in between reading Scythe and then starting this one, I started watching Call the Midwife, and then I was reading this and one of the characters, Mary, I was like really hearing a voice in my head, and I was like, whose voice is that? Whose voice am I reading her voice in? Sister Julienne from Call the Midwife, which is so funny because she's like a higher, important but like influential but really calming nature, and that's pretty much exactly what Mary is in this as well. So that's funny that my mind made that connection before I did. But yeah, I gave this 4 stars. And then the final book that I finished was Lord of the Flies by William Golding, and I read this as an audiobook narrated by Martin Jarvis on Spotify. And at first when I started this, I was really enjoying it. I thought the narration was really well done. I felt like he'd really kind of captured the essence of old English, or like I guess olden day English boys, like a bit posh. But my god, I got so bored of this book. I was bored of this book. And now audiobooks and me are not the best of friends. I very easily get distracted, so it's not always their fault. But then since then I've read another audiobook that I listened to really quite carefully, so I'm like, okay, maybe I wasn't the problem with this. I just got fed up of it, and I can't really tell you what happened because I was not paying enough attention. But the main gist is that it's a bunch of boys whose plane crashes. I think they're on a school trip or something. Plane crashes and they're stranded on a desert island, so they have to kind of create a societal hierarchy. Well, they don't have to, but they do. Figure out how to get food and how to like make rules and form their community, and it's interesting. I see why a lot of curriculums have it as a school reading, but it didn't give me as much as I was hoping it would, and I ended up giving it 2.75 stars. I could have easily DNF'd this, but I powered through, but probably for no real reason. And that is everything. So I do wonder if my April wrap-up will be more on time. I might even film it immediately after this. I might not. So it might be another month until that one comes. But thank you for watching this one. Let me know what you read in March or just more recently than then, since March was ages ago now. And I will see you next time. Bye!